Good.
Yeah, thank you.
Teacher Ralston for this stuff.
They were a little down that way. That one?
Good evening, everybody. Thank you. I'd like to call this meeting to order. I'd like to welcome all of you that are here participating in the Board of Education in person and those that are watching the meeting via live stream on YouTube. I'd like to ask that anyone addressing the board to please use the microphone at the podium and to identify yourselves for the record. As a reminder, the link to the meeting is on the district webpage.
Good evening,
Under the Board of
everybody.
Education. To call this meeting to order, I'd like to welcome all of you that are participating in the Board of Education in person and those that are watching the meeting via live stream on YouTube. I'd like to ask that anyone addressing the board to please use the microphone at the podium and to identify yourself. We're good? Okay. All right. As a reminder, the link to the district webpage is under the Board of Education. The streaming will run through the end of the meeting, and in the event there is a disruption in the stream, I will pause the meeting until it is reestablished. Dr. Kettler, would you please announce the meeting for us?
This meeting announced in terms of the resolution and is a legally constituted meeting of the Los Lunas School Board of Education.
Thank you, sir. I'm going to ask that Nativity Cordova come forward, and I'll turn this over to Dr. Kettler to introduce our pledge leader tonight.
Madam President, members of the board, Sunday Elementary is proud to introduce Nativity Cordova. Nativity is a sixth grade student in elite class. Nativity is the daughter of Elaine Chavez and Joshua Cordova. Nativity was selected to represent Sundance Elementary because she is a model student. She is a well-rounded, studious, kind, and quiet leader who has grown with us at Sundance Preschool. Nativity reports her favorite subject is English language art because she enjoys reading and writing. She once wrote a book called The Magic Crystal. This year, Nativity joined the sixth grade Tiger Band and is learning percussion. In her free time, Nativity says she likes to call her best friend. She also enjoys hanging out in her room and thinking about her life and future. She says she loves drama and acting would be her number one choice of career. Her second choice would be photography. Nativity reports something she will always remember about Sundance is performing as the lead in the school's drama club performance. She made an outstanding evil witch. She has many favorite teachers, including Mrs. Rivat and Rico, Mrs. Walraven, and Mrs. Bird. Recent Gold Renaissance recipient, Sundance Elementary, is proud to recognize Nativity Cordova. Please join Nativity and I in saying the pledge.
Activity. Thank you.
Great.
So it's like trick or treating before trick or treat. Sorry. Thank you very much. So, yeah.
have a certificate.
Your pick. Very good job. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Well.
Thank you, Nativity. That brings us to item 4 on the agenda, approval of agenda. Dr. Kettler, are there any changes or deletions to the agenda?
Madam President, members of the board, I would recommend or like to make one change. I would ask that item 13E, approval of partnership agreements between Sam and the Lower Canyon School 2023-2024. We are not moving forward with partnership plans.
Thank you, Dr. Kettler. At this time, any board members want to ask for change to the agenda? Not hearing any, I'll stand for a motion.
Garcia,
Yes.
make a
sir.
motion, we approve the agenda as presented by Dr. Kettler and his staff with having item number 13E removed.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Smith, and I've heard a second from 2, but I think Mr. Bennett came in first, so we're going to go with the motion and a second by Mr. Bennett. Any other discussion on the agenda? Not hearing any, I'll call for the vote. Mr. Hidon,
Yes.
Mr. Bennett,
Yes.
Mr. Vickers,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
and I too vote yes, agenda has passed. That brings us to item 5, which is the report on the closed executive session. As announced and posted in accordance with the New Mexico Meetings Act, the Las Vegas Board of Education and the Las Vegas Board of Education's open meeting resolution, a quorum of the Las Vegas School Board of Education participated in a closed executive session. The closed session was held tonight, October the 24th, 2023 at 5:00 p.m. for discussion of regarding limited personnel, specifically a discussion regarding amendum to the superintendent's contract. This is pursuant to 1015(1)(h)(2) of the Open Meetings Act, and a quorum was in attendance. I also affirm that no other topics were discussed, nor was any action taken while we were in closed executive session. Next on item number 6 is public comment. Mr. Kettler, is there any request for public comment this evening?
Madam President, we do not have any requests this evening for public comment.
Thank you, sir. That brings us to item number 7 of the agenda, which is going to be the approval of consent items. Gentlemen, you have the consent items in front of you. I will stand for a motion regarding the consent.
Madam President, I motion that we approve the consent items.
I have a motion by Mr. Bennett to approve all the consent items. Can I get a second?
Second.
I have a second by Mr. Vickers. Board members, any discussion on the consent sheet? Not hearing any, I'm going to go ahead and call for the vote for the consent items. Mr. Hidon,
Yes.
Mr. Bennett,
Yes.
Mr. Vickers,
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
And I too vote yes, consent items have all been approved. That brings us to item number 9, which is the report on pricing results for RBC Capital Markets. Dr. Kettler, I'll turn it over to you.
Madam President, members of the board, I would like to call Chief Finance Officer Sandy Tracy to the podium to introduce our speaker tonight.
It does say that I'm sorry, Madam President, members of the board. It does say Eric Harrigan, but today we have Kaylee representing RBC, our financial advisors, to speak about our bond results, bond summary results.
Right?
Thank you.
Yes, good evening, Madam President, members of the board, Superintendent Kettler. My name is Keely Weinriskirch with RBC Capital Markets, your municipal advisor. I'm here tonight to just present the sale results of the district's 2023 bonds. So without further ado, on my first slide here, we have a brief transaction summary. So the district went forward with selling $11 million to the New Mexico Finance Authority on August 2nd. The true interest cost came in at 2.89%. We're very pleased with this result, considering that the 10-year treasury is now trading at about 4.9%. This brings the total interest to be about $1.7 million for this issuance, for the total repayment to be $12,706,000. This issuance does have a redemption date. It will become callable starting on August 25th of 2033. This deal did price back on August 2nd. It has already closed. It closed back on August 25th. So funds are already released and available to the district to spend. On my next slide, we have the debt service schedule of this issuance. You can see that on July 15th of 2024, $3.4 million of this issuance will already become due. The district was able to utilize its excess cash balance to pay off about 30% of the loan upfront, creating interest cost savings throughout the life of the loan. On my next and my final slide here, we have the history of the district's past bond sales. Now, of course, the TIC for the 23 bonds is slightly higher than recent sales. This is expected considering that the pandemic era saw historically low interest rates for a period of time, and then also with inflation and our current present time. But when we look at the overall history of the district sales, we do see that we're still in a very low interest rate environment. You know, at the end, I do have a market update, but I'll pause there and see if anyone has any questions or comments for me.
Board members, any questions on this? Okay, no, continue. It looks like.
No? All right. So, I mean, just to talk a little bit about the market, I'm actually going to go a little bit off script here because the market update I had in this presentation is reflective back in August when we sold these bonds, right? And a lot of things have happened since then. You know, in the past few weeks, we've seen a very big rise in interest rates just because of a lot of geopolitical instability, whether that be with because of what's going on in Gaza, not having a Speaker of the House for the last 2 weeks. So we've seen interest rates rise quite a bit in the past week as investors try to flock towards more safe haven assets such as municipal bonds or treasuries. So last week, the 10-year treasury actually traded at above 5%, which is the first time since 2007. Inflation is still a factor that the Federal Reserve is watching. So next week, the Federal Reserve will meet. It's not expected that they will raise rates, but rather that it's expected that they'll continue to hold them kind of where they're at in an effort to combat inflation. And it's expected that they'll do so until they may potentially start cutting in 2024. Any other questions or further questions? All right. Well, again, congratulations to the district on the very successful bond sale. Should you have any follow-up questions, please do not hesitate to reach out to myself or Eric Harrigan at any point. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Gentlemen or superintendent, anything you'd like to add to that presentation? No? No questions? I guess that's good news. Thank you very much. And I don't know if you needed to come and leave. You're free to do so if you're done. That was quick. Thank you. So this item was for informational purposes only. No action is needed or warranted at this time. That brings us to item number 10 on the agenda, which is the superintendent's report. I'll turn it back over to Dr. Kettler. Thank you.
Madam President, members of the board, the student representative from Los Salinas High School tonight is senior Tilly Garcia. She is super excited for the opportunity to speak out about her amazing high school. Tilly was selected because she embodies the spirit and culture of Los Salinas High School. She always has a smile on her face and is respected by both staff and students. Tilly has attended LLHS for all 4 years of high school, and before that attended LLMS as well as Raymond Gabaldon Elementary. She is very active in her school. She has been part of the Tigerettes for 5 years. She has been in National Honor Society since her sophomore year and feels that it is a fun way to be involved around the school and that it also offers lots of opportunities to get involved in her community with her peers. Out of school, you can find Tilly with her family or friends. She's very active in her church where she volunteers in the nursery. Tilly hopes to continue her work at Glorieta Camp, where she works with families. She also assists with packing bags of food and clothing for children in the community as part of the outreach program at Roadrunner Food Bank. And Tilly plans to attend college. Becoming a teacher is one of her top career choices, which we certainly hope becomes her career path. At this time, I would like to invite Tilly to the podium.
Good evening, Madam President, members of the board, and Dr. Kettler. My name is Tilly Page Garcia, and what an honor it is to be standing in front of all of you this evening. When I was asked by Mr. Tiger to speak in front of all of you, my eyes about popped out of my head. I can dance in front of anyone, but speaking is a totally different story. Although my initial reaction was to crawl under a rock, I immediately agreed with a smile because how could I pass up the amazing opportunity to brag on what a wonderful school we have? I would first like to start off by saying that Los Lunas High School's admin and staff are some of the most genuine, funny, kind-hearted, and most of all caring team of adults you will ever meet. I promise, guys, I'm not just saying this for brownie points. I really mean it. Every day, I get the privilege to be around all our admin as I serve as an office aide. And let me tell you, it has given me a whole new respect for all that y'all do. They run around like chickens with their heads cut off, trying to make sure we all have what we need to have a safe and fun environment to grow our education. And yes, I do quite literally mean run, or they just have the best speed walk I've ever seen. With all that they have on their plate, they still take the time to grow personal relationships with students. Not once has anyone walked by and not given me a hello or cracked a silly joke to make me smile. This kind of environment pushes students to have the desire to come to school and do our absolute best. As I'm on the topic of our school environment, I would like to say that recently I have noticed lots of posters and cute inspirational quotes all around our campus. Posters saying, "Smile, it's a beautiful day," or "You got this." Now, I don't know where I was thinking these posters came from, but it didn't quite click in my head that people are taking the time to make these posters, and they didn't just appear out of thin air. To my amazement, I have found out that for the first time ever, Los Lunas High School has a leadership class that is working alongside student council to promote a positive and happy learning environment for all students. This just warms my heart to learn that my fellow classmates are taking their time to make our halls and school a bit brighter. Now that we are approaching the holidays, it is a season of giving, and I can tell you that Los Lunas High is not holding back. Our Lending a Paw program has done an amazing job at serving our community. On September 30th, we had students helping at our local Jubilee retirement community. They had the job of helping with the setup and takedown of their annual craft fair. Also, on September 15th through the 23rd, students collaborated with Facebook to provide 50 Thanksgiving meals for families in our community that may not be as fortunate as some of us in this room. In addition, students will also be decorating and delivering the boxes closer to Thanksgiving. Since we are on the topic of Thanksgiving, I would also like to mention that NHS will be partnering with St. Vincent de Paul for our annual canned food drive. As a member of NHS, I can say that this outreach really is something special. Many students all around campus participate, and it's so amazing to see the desire students have to help the less fortunate. On a lighter note, LLHS is having a trunk or treat put on by Student Council in Lending a Paw on October 27th. This event is very exciting because it will give students a chance to come together and show off their cute costumes and just enjoy each other's company. I know many other clubs and teams will be attending to make this event a hit, volleyball being one of them. Volleyball does an amazing job at showing their love and kindness on and off the court. This past week, on October 17th, volleyball hosted a pink out game against Capital. The players took this seriously, and before their game, they recognized and honored spectators in the audience that have suffered from cancer. It was so sweet, and it made me happy to see a team take the time to really honor what wearing pink is all about. And not to mention, our volleyball team is 4th in the state and on the road to state playoffs. Their teamwork is something you don't want to miss out on watching. Let's continue to talk about all the amazing athletics going on at LLHS. Our cross-country team just held a home meet hosting 22 teams with over 400 runners on October 14th. This event was huge, and I was informed there were far over 500 spectators in attendance to watch the amazing endurance of these runners. An exciting factor about this event is that the solar eclipse was going on at the same time. How cool to think that a historical event that hasn't happened in hundreds of years occurred at the same time as our runners competition. These runners are also very involved in our community and are planning on helping and running in the Los Lunas 5K Turkey Trot on Thanksgiving Day. Football is also doing great things as they led us to victory on our last home game against Santa Fe with a whopping score of 57-6. This football game was extra special to our boys because it was their senior night. It is so incredible to see the passion of these players and also so sad to see their season come to a close. I can honestly say these players put their absolute all into what they do, and their team is not just full of teammates, but it is full of family and brotherhood. The boys will be attending an away game against Clovis in hopes they will pull out a win to claim the title of district champions and continue in state playoffs. The Tiger spirit shines so bright at all of our games, and it is so fun for me to experience this from the sidelines. It is true core memories I will cherish forever, even after I graduate. Once a Tiger, always a Tiger, and I can really say this is a real statement. As for our soccer teams go, both boys and girls are working very hard, and it is so fun to watch both teams compete. Our girls are currently 3rd in the district and 12th overall in the 5A division. Our boys are having a bit of a growing year, but despite not winning most games, they never lose heart and continue to persevere with class and confidence. Last but certainly not least, I would like to take a second to brag on my team a little bit. The LLHS Tigerettes dance team is one of the most hardworking teams on campus. I may be a bit biased, but my team is full of exceptional students, and we truly embody what a student athlete should look like. Last season, my team had an overall GPA of a 3.9, and we were recognized at multiple competitions for our academic success. My team works endless hours to make sure our routines are clean and ready for all games and events we attend. May I also mention we work on multiple high-level state competition routines weekly for our competitive season. Our amazing coach, Janelle Thompson Armijo, loves for us to shine, and she makes sure that we are very active in our community. This past month, we attended Bosque Farms Elementary for their annual Walk or Ride to School Day. We stood outside of the school and cheered on the little ones that made it to school by way of anything but a bus or car. Seeing their faces light up was so fun, and it was so rewarding to just add a little sparkle to events such as this one. In the month of November, we will be hosting our annual Heart of Gold competition. This will be a non-sanctioned event, and we are super excited to see all the talent New Mexico has to offer. A few last events I would like to mention that are coming up in the next few months here at LLHS include our annual Veterans Day ceremony held on November 8th on our football fields. This is a very touching event put on by our hardworking JROTC, and it shows what true American pride should look like. LLHS will also be having a staff versus student volleyball game on November 1st to raise money for the New Mexico Cancer Society. This will be such a fun event, and I can't wait to watch our students and teachers kick butts. And yes, I say watch, because if I was on the team, that would not be the case. Anyways, in all seriousness, I'd like to say thank you to all of you for listening to me this evening, and I hope I could give you a good look into how great Los Lunas High School really is. Thank you.
I'm gonna ask you to stay there for a minute, Tilly. I know you're wanting to get done, but we might have some questions.
Okay.
Go ahead, Mr. Smith.
So I don't have any questions, but your interests and your passion are definitely geared towards those who need you the most. So I want to commend you for that. And the things that they're doing at Los Lunas High School as far as the money that you're raising and the organizations that you're raising it for reflects highly on yourself and Los Lunas High School. You guys are doing a terrific job, and you personally reflects highly on Los Lunas Middle School and RGE as well, as long as the rest of the staff in the district. So we have numerous reasons to be very proud of you. Now that I know who you are, I'm going to tell everybody that you were here. So, congratulations, and you're definitely a great representative for Los Lunas High School and the school district.
Thanks. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree. You're great ambassador to the high school up there in this district, and I really appreciate that you're doing that outreach food bank. That's something that's really worthy, and I know it means a lot to you. And I thank you for that. But I've seen you guys dance. I mean, you guys don't just have good moves, but hell, you're smart. That's good.
Thank you.
Doing good.
Well, I know Tilly from other places too, and she is just as enthusiastic and bubbly in those other venues, and also helpful. And I want to know where you're going to go to college.
Madam President, members of the school board, and Dr. Kettler, I'm really considering just going to UNM, staying close to home, and just getting my education from New Mexico. So yeah, that's my plan right now, but we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Great to hear. And of course, we have a mentorship program, right? For aspiring teachers, right? So they'll be interested, talk to personnel, they'll be interested in getting involved in that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead. Thank you, Mr. Hill.
So when I seen the name Kelly Garcia, that's huge. Okay. And there's somebody smiling now. Okay. And they're proud. Mr. Tiger, Mrs. Garland, you guys have to be extremely proud of what you guys have below you guys right there. Thank you guys for that work that you guys put in and focusing on this. I want to thank you for the work, the extra work you put in. That's huge. And you're sitting here and I told you, you are our replacements. So we are in good hands when I say that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job. And if you were nervous, it didn't show. You did a great job. And like probably most of us here, we knew your grandmother and your family, and I'm sure they're proud as all heck of you. And I just appreciate the academic achievements you're doing as Tigerettes, because that's the next step up, and it's the one of the most important steps. So good job. Let your team know we're very proud of all of them and that they keep up the good work and at Los Angeles High School. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. And you can continue, Dr. Cook.
Madam President, members of the board, at this time, I would like to call Mrs. Vanessa Trigimbo, principal at Sundance Elementary School, to the podium.
Good evening, Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Kettler. My name is Vanessa Trigimbo. I'm the principal of Sundance Elementary and proud to present tonight about our outstanding school. I'm joined by our assistant principal, Melissa Lowther, and I'd like to begin by acknowledging all the staff and students who are joining us here this evening. Will you please stand? Thank you so much for coming. I appreciate their support, and we are exceptional because of these staff and students that are committed to excellence. So I'm going to get us started as we look at how we at Sundance are addressing each of the identified board priorities. First is a robust, rigorous, and complete curriculum at grade level. We utilize the Los Lunas Schools district curriculum and our curriculum resource as a pacing guide and collection of resources across all grade levels. The bottom photo there shows first grade teacher Mrs. Justice helping her young learners in an English language arts lesson with our adopted Amplify curriculum, while also applying her new learning in the science of reading. Our strong collaborative practices allow for routine review of resources to have aligned grade level pacing and scoring. Kindergarten students in the photo on the right show they can demonstrate level 5 proficiency because they can identify a sound by making the sound. They are a 5 because they're proficient in this skill and they can also teach the skill to a friend. Proficiency of the skill has been identified for students in the form of a learning target. Identifying and clearly communicating a learning target was a school-wide goal from the previous school year. The next identified priority is every student is capable of engaging with grade level standards and rigorous content. Through regular walkthroughs and observations with feedback provided by me and Mrs. Lowther, we've been able to ensure grade level standards are not only posted in the form of a learning target, but also clearly communicated to students and aligned with learning. Across all grade levels, this includes English language arts, math, science, and social studies. Many of our teams are currently piloting a new science program, Open SciEd. In the picture where the students are outside at the right, kindergarten students perform an investigation on the playground and they're recording their observations. We also ensure students are leaders in their own learning through the use of a student data binder. Every Sundance student has a data binder. The picture on the top shows 4th grade students from Mrs. Rivera's class proudly showing their individual data binders. Inside, students have established goals for all content areas, and they monitor their own progress through graphing and a collection of data. To express them, please. At Sundance Elementary, we utilize the opportunity of one-to-one devices to support and enhance the learning of our students, as you can see in the upper right corner. From our innovations lab to our technology coaches, our students are provided with a multitude of tools and supports to explore and learn. We are especially proud of our site ed coordinator who built our Girls Who Code program over the past 4 years. This program has grown to include levels of experience from beginning to advanced and participated successfully in the bot ball competition as seen in the bottom right. Our students learn through this engaging activity that coding has potential career opportunities and, more importantly, how to use technology to create and problem solve. Every student deserves to have the opportunity to learn multiple languages just as their global peers. Much like our commitment to enhancing our learning through technology, we support and enhance the learning of our students by providing opportunities for our students to learn in multiple languages and to be supported in their home language. Our Spanish club, which has been in place for almost 10 years, participates in language immersion and cultural awareness activities such as field trips to Ranchos de los Golondrinas. You might recognize it there on the right. Our English language learners professional learning community meets once a month to share best practices to meet the needs of our English language learners. The educators at each grade level take turns hosting the professional learning community and plan the activities and agendas. Most importantly, we utilize technology for enhanced communication with students and parents in our community. The bottom left picture shows our 3rd grade teacher, Ms. Clapton, conducting a parent-teacher conference with the student and his parents. The Time Kettle ear pods you see being used here in the app are used for immediate translation in parent-teacher conferences and student assistant team meetings. Additionally, Remind and PowerSchool have accessibility features that translate messages automatically for our families who request communication in their home language. So the next slide that you're looking at shows our proficiency levels in English language arts on the left and math on the right from the 2023 New Mexico MASA, which is our state assessment. The light orange shows students who are demonstrating proficiency, and the top darker orange highlights the percentage of those students who scored in the advanced range. And this is notable because we continue to challenge our students who are not only proficient, but beyond, while also working to meet the needs of students who are not yet demonstrating proficiency through targeted support. And you'll notice that our students performed better in ELA than math. So in looking at this data as our Guiding Coalition leadership team, we determined that our goals this school year will be focused on math. The desired outcome in math is that teachers in grades K-6 school-wide will implement consistent routines to regularly practice solving rigorous word problems using a school-wide strategy. So we're always working to improve our proficiency rates and improve our practices through goal setting and collaborative practices. And in the photo on the top left, you see the kindergarten team of teachers taking the school-wide data to a student-by-student level. And the bottom photo shows a student utilizing her graph of progress from her student data binder to reflect on her learning and set goals for continued growth. The next identified priority, every student deserves to connect the relevance of learning as they explore their future career opportunities. So last school year, district-wide, we were introduced to the Beable resource, and Beable is a life-ready literacy system integrating literacy with career development. Utilizing this resource on the iPad, Sundance students have the opportunity to complete an interest inventory that identifies personal interests and career aptitudes in 6 categories. Students name the areas on their Beable lanyards and then are assigned readings at their identified level with a focus on their personally identified passions and interests. And board members, I brought you an example of a lanyard so that you can see what that looks like. To help students connect the relevance of learning as they explore career opportunities, we created a career awareness team. And through this team's collaborative work, they planned a very successful career day where students were encouraged to dress as a career of their choice. So on the right, we see a future firefighter, police officer, and nurse. And on her Beable lanyard of the nurse, you see she's identified strengths in the categories of social, investigative, and artistic. And that night, the team organized a family event in which they invited members of the community to share about their careers. We had a great community response to make this event a huge success. So in the photo, you see a grandfather with his Sundance student learning about forensics from a community member. And there are also many more photos from that night highlighted on our bulletin board in the back of the room. And we added first annual to the title of this event because it's most certainly something we want to host again and again. Every student deserves a classroom experience that acknowledges their integrated cognitive, social, and emotional development. The social and emotional learning is acknowledged and integrated throughout our campus through the leadership of our counselor and our social emotional learning team. This team has provided monthly professional development and staff meetings. And through the team-created site, they provide ideas and tips to support students through the framework developed by the Collaborative for Academic, Social, and Emotional Learning, known as CASEL. Our school-wide three personal standards is the common language we use to demonstrate expected positive behaviors, and along with the Character Counts program of positive behavioral pillars, we acknowledge students meeting those standards through our Renaissance lunches and assemblies. Students are recognized monthly and can earn punches on a punch card for being taught, showing the pillars, and earn prizes. Every employee deserves to be supported in staying current in the most effective practices. Our educators are supported in staying current in the most effective practices through job-embedded professional development. Our communities of practice that meet together 5 times a year during all learner days provide networking opportunities to our educators in staying current and ahead of effective teaching practices, strategies, and skills through collaboration and a sense of community where we are all learners. We support our educators on site through the work and collaboration of our Innovations Learning Coach, our Inclusion Support Coach, and our Digital Learning Coaches. Everyone participates in weekly professional learning communities built into the school day and can utilize the structure we have put in place to observe colleagues across grade levels or be observed by colleagues during the co-observation block of time built into the master schedule. We have built in the routine of self-reflection of our teaching practices through our green growth folders and share our reflections through the use of Flip, which allows us to comment and provide feedback on each other's posts. That's the picture in the middle. Family engagement is a priority at Sundance. We host family events at least once per month where family members are invited to be at school and enjoy an event on our campus. Photos on the bottom of the slide feature 2 of our students with their mom at Muffins for Mom and one of our first grade students with his dad decorating a gingerbread house. Communication is key in our partnership with families. Every classroom teacher communicates with families through a monthly newsletter that's given on to families on the first Friday of each month. And teachers inform parents about what they're learning each month in the areas of English language arts, math, science, and social studies. And additionally, we have a school-wide Tiger Tracks newsletter that also goes out the first Friday of each month for all families. And within each classroom and school-wide newsletter, we include a family focus question. That's the QR code you see at the bottom. This allows parents to provide input on monthly topics, and we can respond to any identified needs as appropriate. And parents just have a source of for questions or feedback. And another way we're able to engage families in our community is through community service projects. This has been part of our Sundance culture for many years. Every class takes part in a community service learning project to increase social awareness and responsibility while providing students an invaluable opportunity to become active members of our community. So the photo on the top right is from our recent Stomp Out Cancer Jogathon, organized by our PE teacher, Mrs. Monica Aragon. And through donations of just $1 per family member, we were able to raise nearly $1,000 to Children's Cancer Fund of New Mexico. And the final identified priority is safety and security. We recently launched the Stop It app with our school community, and this allows any parent or student to anonymously report any safety concerns or misconduct. We also have a school resource officer, Officer Jared Smith, who's assigned to our school full-time. He's on campus daily, meeting the safety needs of our students and staff. We also have offer a home base for our former school resource officer, Officer Pat, who now leads the West Side SROs. Together, we practice all necessary drills, and we meet as a safety committee following each drill to debrief what was observed, reflect on what we can improve upon, and continue to grow in our best practices for safety. Officer Jared frequently visits classrooms to provide safety education, and on the bottom right photo, he's working with the classroom of kindergarten students alongside Rocket of Rocket Rules to build a mindset with students for safety. And this particular presentation was interactive Rocket, and he spoke directly to the students of Sundance and interacted with them, answering any questions that they had about staying safe at school. What Officer Jared and Officer Pat do best is build relationships with our students. And this is clearly evident by the interactions they have with students and the number of students who dressed as future police officers in the top photo, right? And that was for Career Day. So our last slide just highlights a photo of our beautiful school in the shadow of our iconic Los Lunas Hill. Alongside, you'll see a photo of our nearly 600 students taken from atop the LL Fire Department engine ladder on our last day of school in our tiger blue Renaissance t-shirts. And that concludes our presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may.
Thank you. You're up, Mr. Smith. Any questions or comments?
Just a couple of comments. So your presentation and the outline that you have is precisely why you're so successful there at Sundance Elementary. And I've known you, Mr. Gumbo, for many, many years. And as far as I know, you're still my grandson's favorite teacher. So that was many, many years ago, and he hasn't told me otherwise. So I'm assuming you're still at the top of the list. But I appreciate what you did, not only for him, but for all of the students. And I think together with you and Miss Lothar, is that correct? You guys are, Sundance is in extremely good hands. And thank you both for what you do and your staff as well. You guys should be very proud. We're very proud of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, could you explain this card for me, please?
Yes, so that is the program that I mentioned, Beable, that was introduced to us across the whole district. And students can take an interest inventory survey, kind of like an aptitude test, and it identifies areas that they're strong in or interested in. And then through a reading assessment, it will generate articles or readings for the student at their level on topics of interest to them.
Well, could you thank Sophia for me? Appreciate it. And she's wants to be an artistic, investigative, and conventional. So she wants to be an artist, painter, sculptor, illustrator, interior designer, and a fashion designer. So tell her I wish her luck. Thank you for the card.
Well, I'm going to need those back after the visit.
I was gonna try to do myself up here. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Griffin.
Mr. Bennett would like to fill one out.
It is very interesting.
I was gonna ask that question. I figured you'd want them back.
They do belong to actual students,
Yeah.
so you can see
Okay.
the artifacts of what they're working on.
You know, we just did a workshop earlier this afternoon about the goals, the priorities for the district and all that. And I saw so many of those addressed in exactly what you're doing at the school already. So it's great. It's a good mesh with the district goals.
Thank you.
Thank you.
He's right. We had a workshop earlier, and I think I stopped after the third slide. First one was deserves curriculum. Deserves technology. Deserves multiple languages. And then you have another one below that you've been doing it for 10 years.
Spanish Club.
So kudos to you guys. That's that message, those strong words right there will give you a good plan, and that's perfect. Thank you.
Same thing. I just want to say thank you to the staff that showed up and the support that you get from your teachers and your school, because you are an amazing campus. I'm a big proponent for your community service projects. I think that is such an important need in any school and any class and any age group. It's about giving back to your community and being part of your community. So thank you for that as well. Good job.
Thank you so much.
And I'll turn it back over to you, Dr. Kettler.
Madam President, members of the board, I only have two comments this evening. The first is to let you know that the calendar committee is starting up as we begin to look at the calendar for next school year. Dr. Elder and others will be starting to hold meetings, and the goal is to have a calendar to present to the board in the December board meeting for approval, and that would be for the 24-25 school year. Second, and when I say we, I mean cabinet, supervisor of construction, Tiffany McMahon, and myself have been going around to our schools, doing presentations to school staff on the upcoming bond election, 2 mil as well as 3 mil. And we're really stressing the importance of the bond for the future of Los Lunas schools. You may recall, we have, based on our facility master plan, we have over $200 million in needs. And of course, those are ranked from highest priority to lowest priority. But we need to pass these bonds to make sure that we are able to continue providing for our kids the very best, safe and secure environments in which they can learn. There is no tax increase associated with passing this bond, and I cannot say that and stress that enough. And so we just encourage everyone to go vote on November 7th.
Thank you, Dr. Kettler. These items were for informational purposes only. No action is needed or warranted at this time. That brings us now to item number 11 on the agenda, which is consideration of action needed regarding the discussion held in work session and the closed executive session. We're going to start with the item 11A, which is amendment to the superintendent's contract. I guess maybe I should ask council, do I give a report as to what the reason why we were addressing the amended contract, or do we just ask for a motion on accepting the amended contract?
Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Kettler, it is your choice, whichever you decide is preferable, Madam President.
All right, well, thank you. We did have a closed executive session this evening, and there were some amendments brought forward to the board to consider on the superintendent's contract. So I'm going to leave it up to the board members at this time if they want to address any of those items, or if they just want to give a motion that we can all consider at this time. I'll start with any board members that want to address us.
Ms. Garcia, and maybe this is for you as well. Would it be appropriate to do item 11B first?
And again, just to add that item number 11B is something we are trying to amend into the contract. So maybe that's a good question, Mr. Smith. Should we go there first?
Madam President, members of the board, Member Smith, I understand why you're asking that question in retrospect. Unfortunately, it didn't come up in the change of the agenda at the outset. I understand that your position with regard to the contract may be subject to the next item on the agenda. I think that's a fair assessment.
100% my fault. I should have realized that earlier. Ms. Garcia, I would like to make a motion on item 11A then.
Go ahead, Mr. Smith.
I would like to motion that we approve the requested changes to the superintendent's contract, subject to the revisions consistent with the decisions by the board regarding the evaluation process. Item 11B.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. So we do have a motion to accept the amended superintendent's contract with the possible addition of the evaluation plan, which is coming under 11B. But for the amended superintendent's contract, I got a motion. Do I get a second?
Second.
Came in first is going to be Mr. Bennett, so I'll take the second from Mr. Bennett and the motion is given by Mr. Smith. Any discussion, gentlemen, on the superintendent's contract? The amendment 2. Okay, not hearing any. I'm going to go ahead and call for the vote at this time. Mr. Hedon, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Bennett, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Vickers?
Yes.
Mr. Smith? Yes. And I too vote yes. The amended contract is now approved. That brings us to 11B. In our work session that we had earlier this evening, we did talk about a superintendent timeline and a superintendent evaluation form. These are items that matter to this district and how we move forward with any evaluation of a superintendent. It was very important that this board set a timeline and a process in which to evaluate the superintendent. So we did get some information on that at this time. If there's any discussion or if any board members want to bring up any additional information about what we discussed in that open work session, or do I get a motion at this time?
Madam President, I'd like to make a motion to approve the superintendent's evaluation plan and process and also the timelines as discussed in today's work session.
Thank you, Mr. Bennett. Do I get a second to approve?
Second.
I got a second from Mr. Smith on the approval of the superintendent's evaluation and the plan and timeline that go with that. Any discussion on that? Okay, then I'm gonna call for the vote on that. Mr. Hidon,
Yes.
Mr. Bennett,
Yes.
Mr. Vickers.
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
And I too vote yes. We now have action plan in place and a timeline of which to do that evaluation. At this time, I guess, for legal counsel, we would work with, I guess, the board president and with Dr. Kettler into implementing that evaluation plan into the contract so we could get a signatured plan. And of course, that contract would be available for public after we've made that amendment, correct? Okay, thank you. That brings us to item number 12, which is the report on the audit committee. And you want me to call up Sandy or do you want, okay, so Sandy, you're up. Report on the audit committee meeting that was held this last week. Thank you, Sandy.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board, and Superintendent Dr. Kettler. Our report on the audit committee, I really don't have much to report, mostly because it is a confidential happening until it's completed, until it goes to the state auditor and that gets released and then gets presented to the board. But what I can let you know is that we have been meeting monthly and we've had actually really good attendance at all of our meetings. So our meeting does consist of the superintendent, consist of the 2 board members that are on the audit committee. We have a few representatives from our financial team. And then, of course, our auditors are there. And those are the auditors so far this year have been Zoom, but we have all met on it and discussed the audit. So it has been going well. I had one big project that I actually submitted today to them. So I was really happy to get that completed. But we are progressing along just fine. And we did decide at our last meeting to schedule for November 8th at 3 p.m. for our exit conference. And that's about all I have. Do you have any questions?
Members, any questions? Go ahead, Mr. Smith.
Thank you, Ms. Trezak, and good job as usual. But so there's a November 8th meeting at 3 o'clock for the exit conference. When can the presentation for the audit be expected?
So that will depend on the state, but so we'll have to have that once we go over the exit and we'll get our draft. We will share that with the committee. And then once that is when it's totally completed, then it gets submitted to the state auditor. And then depending on how long they take on that, probably I'm trying to remember if it's like January, February, then it might get completed. And then once we get that okay to release from the state auditor, then we'll bring it to you at the next board meeting. So there's really not a lot to report because it is confidential until it is brought back to you completed and approved by the state auditor. So they get some time in case there's something that our auditors miss. They may ask further questions. So sometimes that happens. And so they have time. So all of it's kept confidential until after they release it.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Sandy, Ms. Tracy. All right, thank you very much for the report. This item was for informational purposes only. No action is needed or warranted at this time. That brings us to, I believe, item number 14, which is new business. I'll ask if there's any board member that have requests for topics to be placed on the next upcoming work sessions or regular or special meetings that we have planned coming up. Board members, yes, go ahead, Mr. Hidon.
I have a concern. I heard it this afternoon. We had a bullet. I don't know how this is going to be addressed. It's going to be a couple questions and then Mr. Kettler, so have your pen ready. We have foundational assumptions that we're going to send our students into a safe environment. Our teachers are going to work and they're going to be in a safe environment. Our staff is going to be in a safe environment. I had some constituents reach out to me and show me a video. And it's probably been happening for about a year now. We've had some videos of some school fights. This last one was a little disturbing. It was a lot disturbing. Hope everybody's okay. But when these constituents reached out to me and they're venting on me, I listened, I didn't get upset. And I'm not pointing a finger at SROs, at our staff, at our anybody in here. I hope we're doing the right thing. We're doing our jobs. But what I'm trying to do is use the thumb on ourselves as board members. We're addressing our policies right now. We have state statute. I got to see one state statute that was implemented. It's a public nuisance policy 30-8-1 that was implemented in 2020. I want to make sure that when we address our bullying policy, that it reflects that. I also want to make sure that the concerns I bring up, making sure that we're working together with we have the village of Los Lunas, town of Peralta, town of Bosque Farms, and Valencia County. I think those are the only governments that we have. I don't think I missed any. But I want to make sure that our policies line up with their statutes, Valencia County's ordinances on these type of issues. And when I say us using the thumb on ourselves as board members, we need to really pay attention closely to this, because we have so many different things going on here. We have students recording fights. I'm okay with them recording a fight. Some of those fights that you see, the assault and they say, I mean, there's one of them probably a coward in there, okay? I'll probably get a ethics complaint or something on me right tonight, but the person that is videotaping, I'm okay, use it as evidence. But to start sending it out and humiliating those people that are injured, that's worse than a coward. So us as board members need to do something now that we're addressing our policies. I don't know how. I just want to make sure we're in line with everything, with all of our statutes, all of our ordinances. The second part to this is financial, Mr. Kettler. If there's anything that you're going to need additional from us, please let us know. We're way better than that in this community. To seeing those fights is disturbing. But passing them around and humiliating those people, I don't even have words for that. So we'll be addressing our policies. So please, let's get something done quick on that one. And I don't know if it's going to be, I think we can do it through our policies. I don't think we need to put an extra agenda item on them, Mr. Kettler, but if we do, just let us know. Okay.
Thank you, Member Hidron.
Okay, yes, we'll look into it and see, is that one of the policies we have coming up?
We have students coming up.
Yeah.
Yes.
So-
That'd be correct, President
C meeting, we're going to discuss the sections
Jay.
J for students, and it may be under there, and we can look at that closer at that next policy meeting, which I believe is coming up. Thank you, Mr. Hidon. Are there any other topics or concerns that board members have they'd like to bring up at this time? Okay, I'm not hearing anything, but if any other board members do have information or topics they'd like to discuss, please make sure you get with me as soon as possible because we do have some meetings coming up quickly. This brings us to the announcement of the meetings as allowed by the Open Meetings Act and the District Open Meetings Resolution. On occasion, a quorum of board members attend the same function, including those that are held at school sites at the district level, sports functions, and community activities. Board members will refrain from discussing and or acting on Las Lunas School Board of Education issues in those settings. In addition, only official meetings are published, and if other meetings are scheduled, they will be announced in accordance with the Open Meetings Act. With that being said, these are the following meetings. On November 8th, there will be an audit committee meeting at 3 p.m. here at the central office boardroom. It's by invitation only, and it is going to be the audit exit conference. On November the 14th, there will be a finance committee meeting here at 3 o'clock in the afternoon at the central office boardroom. On November the 14th, there will be a special board meeting, discussion as needed for policies. We have to add this meeting in to get the amendments to the policies that we are working on. So that will be a special meeting on the 14th. On November 28th, we will have a regular board meeting here at Central Office Boardroom at 6 p.m. That brings us to item number 16 on the agenda, which is adjournment of the meeting. There may be some items that have to be signed due to the consent items, gentlemen, so please don't leave until you know you don't have to sign any documents. With that having been said, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn. I got a motion by Mr. Bennett. Can I get a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Vickers. Any discussion on adjournment? Not hearing any. Mr. Hidon, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Vickers?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yep.
And I too vote yes. Meeting is adjourned. It's now 7:03 p.m. Thank you. They're different days. It's at 8.
Shut up.